Hello my friends and welcome back. In some of my videos, whenever I mention Poland as being a helper of Ukraine in the war between Ukraine and Russia, I mentioned that there's no friends over there. And when I see, for instance, that Poland is so eager to, uh, you know, uh, provide support across the border to Poland and how helpful they are and how loving they are with everybody else over there coming in their territories. The refugees. About 3 months ago, the Polish leadership was very against that, and the population has a certain attitude towards uh, that as well. I don't have the data to prove that, but I based a certain statements that I make on the fact that I had a lot of connections in various capacities with Polish people from Poland, from not United States, from Poland, Hungarians from Hungary, Romanians from Romania, Hungarians from Romania, Ukrainians from Romania, Ukrainians from Ukraine. And not only that, we have to understand that in Europe, especially in the Eastern Europe and in the Balkans, a lot of territories, a lot of borders shift left and right, and territories that belonged to one country now belongs to another country and belong to that country. So it's just a switch from one side to another, during the long history of those nations. And I was saying that from my conversations and how I know the how should I put it, national conscious of, for instance, of Romanians. And I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm just trying to tell you what I know from direct experience and from the knowledge that I got when I used to live in Romania. And I can tell you that everybody knows that there are problems. Each country has a problem. Each nation has a problem with the neighboring nation. Because of these territories, they are disputed. I will give you the classical, easiest example. The example is, I will give you 50 examples, but don't have time. Romania and Hungary. They fight over the Transylvania territory that now belongs to Romania. Transylvania was a territory occupied by, if you want to take it, by Dacians, Thracians, then some Romanians claimed, and then the Hungarians came over, migrated from Asia, and then they claimed it, and then Transylvania was, I'm talking about the territory, and when it's formed as how should I say, I don't want to say a state, but nevertheless, it has autonomy within Hungary, the Kingdom of Hungary, and then it was part of Romania. So it switched sides many times. And there are a lot of Hungarians living in Transylvania. The majority are Romanians. So that's a very contested territory. During these scuffles and passing over of this Transylvania, there were a lot of, how should I put it, armed uh, fights between Romanians and Hungarians, and a lot of things that happened that shouldn't have not happened, but we are human and they happened. So there's a lot of animosity between the two nations. Um, just watch, for instance, when for instance, a soccer team from or football team from Hungary, let's say the national team from Hungary, plays in Romania, and see how they are treated over there and how the stadium reacts like no other country, and vice versa. When Romanian national football team goes to Hungary, the same hatred is expressed by the population and the same nationalism and all that. Just watch on YouTube. I would probably upload a link when the Romanian football team plays against Hungarian national team in Romania and Bucharest, and you're gonna hear how the Hungarian people who came over there to cheer for their fans turn their back when the Romanian anthem is played, and the Romanians booed when the Hungarian national anthem is played over there. So it's like that, and that's because of this. So it's not a secret that Hungarians don't like Romanians. I'm talking in general terms, not in uh, Hungarians, Poles, Hungarians, Romanians, Ukrainians, Romanians. That's a lot of like this. So when you hear that Poles are the let's say ancestral friends of Hungary or Ukraine, I start laughing like crazy, burst out loud of laughing, because that's in an imaginary world, not in reality. So it's always when you see that, for instance, you take Poland and Russians, big hatred. Poland, Ukraine, big hatred. I know Ukrainians and Poles don't like one another because I know some family members they're connected with that, and that's not good. And I spoke with men, so it's like that. They can tell you on the TV that, or on the mass media, that the pig can fly and the lion sits next to the lamb, and they will just have hugs and kisses. That's make believe. Reality is. Now, this article that I want to discuss is something that comes from a Russian official that just spills the beans. He just says what he says. This gets me, for instance, with the Germans and Poles. They are friends, but they're not friends, because in the Germans' identity they still have the East Prussia, which was and is, let's put it, German populated. Now I don't know if it was cleared of them, but that was the problem with how the Second World War started, because of East Prussia, Danzig territory that was given to Poland, and it was 90-some% ethnic Germans in that. That was the problem with Hitler and all his buddies, among others, obviously, with Poland. So Poland after the First World War was recreated. It ceased to exist since some 1790 something, I think, or 1780 something. So until 1918, it ceased to exist. It was formed out of the territories. So it has a lot of other territories that has, and other countries around probably have Polish territories. That's a fact. Like, for instance, right now, Hungarians say, hey, Transylvania is ours. If Transylvania tomorrow will go switch to Hungary, Romanians will say, hey, Transylvania is ours. So the same thing with Poland, the same thing with Ukraine. Romania claims territories in, not Romania. The politicians are weasels. The population, the history, claims territories in Ukraine. So Ukrainians are not really our friends, and vice versa, because they know that we Romanians want those territories, and we want them. That's why Moldova, oh, it's an independent country, is this, but Romanians still think that is part of Romania. So these things will not distinguish. So in this case, this article gets me to a Russian official, and it says here, this comes from Ukrainska Pravda, from May 18, 2022, and this is the title. The chief negotiator of the Russian Federation warns that Poland wants to bite off Ukrainian territory. No surprise here whatsoever. I've been telling this, and I'm not pointing fingers at Poland. Poland has won certain territories. They say this is our territory. Like, for instance, if you remember, but I don't know if you do, the Poles before the Second World War had a pact with Nazi Germany about a territory in the north of Czechoslovakia. So they have the pact, like we all know about the Ribbentrop and Molotov pact between Russia and Nazi Germany, but we don't know about these pacts that the Germans made and had with Western Europe, in British, with French, with Poles. So the pact was like this: when the Germans invaded Czechoslovakia to take the Sudetenland, and then they took everything, in the same time Poland invaded the northern territory that they claimed it's theirs. So they took over it. They invaded the same way as the German invaded Czechoslovakia, and the same way Germany invaded Poland, and Soviet Union invaded Poland. So they didn't do anything better than the Soviets did or the Germans did, grabbing other people's at that time territory, but they claimed them. So Poland has claims in western Ukraine, and this guy just says, don't be fooled. Why do you think they're so helpful? They might want to have that, and they think they might be given that. Who knows? But it's funny that these guys, it's true, probably these guys, certainly he wants to create, descent in the alliance and all that. That's another goal. But he's not. He's just telling, in my assessment and my knowledge, the truth. It's very possible. It's very possible. So Vladimir Medinsky, aide to the president of the Russian Federation and head of the Russian delegation in negotiations with Ukraine, is trying to frighten Kiev by claiming that Poland wants to seize territories in western Ukraine. I don't know if he wants to, but I think that he's dreaming of is like, for instance, Romanians keep dreaming about getting Basarabia, if you want to call it that way, Republic of Moldova, or Bukovina. We think about that. Romanians have that. They dream about it. The same Hungarians continuously think about Transylvania going to Ukraine. They think about it. Romanians think about, hey, these guys are thinking about taking our Transylvania. So that's the way it goes. And that's how it's in the Balkans. Look, for instance, Romania and Bulgaria. They have a region over there that's called Quadrilater. That's in the southeastern side of Romania by the Black Sea. That was in between, was Romanian, then was Bulgarian. Romanian was given, was taken. A lot of Romanians live in that area, now belongs to Bulgaria. Do you think Romanians are forgotten about it? The Snake Island in the Black Sea, that was Romanian at one point. Romanians never ceased to, I'm not talking about the politicians who are weasels and now they're under control of the big club. Talk about the national conscious, if you want it that way. Like people talking one another. That's ours, that's ours, that's ours. And the same thing, the Hungarians in Romania talk about Transylvania. The Hungarians in Hungary talk about it. The Hungarians talk about Poland, because after the Second World War, remember, Hungary was much bigger and it became smaller and smaller and smaller. A lot of territories that they claim now belong to other countries around. Do you think they're okay with that? They are not okay. We'll never be okay with that. Never be okay. So I think that this is very possible, not very possible. I'm almost, Poland is assisting Ukraine with weapons, supporting Ukraine's entry into European Union. It is also providing various kinds of assistance to Ukrainian refugees fleeing war. Yes, it is 1 million Ukrainian refugees in Poland. Poland, I post another video, and you can check Poland's record about how they like immigrants or people from outside their country. Before the war, they were the pariah of European Union and United States. They were thinking that this is a far-right government in Poland, and they don't like minorities, and they don't respect the minorities' rights. And now they get more minorities in. How is that change? It's the same people over there. So you see, it's give and take. I'm waiting what Poland is going to take. Oh, one thing, they want to hurt Russia. That's for sure. And Russia would like to hurt Poland. Don't get me wrong. But on the same time, it's not friendship and love and happiness between Ukraine and Poland either. I guarantee you. I bet everything I have on that, because I know how things are. I spoke with people, and it can't be the other way around. They make from time to time, even the officials have a slip of a Freudian slip of the tongue, and they just say this, and then everybody's, oh my God, Remember, it was another retired army, I don't know, colonel or general, I think colonel, Polish colonel. I posted the video about it. He said that, well, maybe we should take Kaliningrad. Kaliningrad is Polish territory. You see, Kaliningrad belonged to old Prussia, belonged to Germany. Germany did not request it from Russia after the 1991, and he let it be. Said, okay, it's yours, Russia. We don't claim it. But the Poles claim it. So all these things, sometimes they just come out and people say it. And I was, oh my God, he's just a retired military. Yeah, he's a retired guy. But if he has this kind of, at one point he was active and he had these thoughts. He always thought that Königsgrad or Kaliningrad belongs to Poland. And there are certain Germans who think that Kaliningrad still belongs, which it's old Prussia. Yes, it belongs to Germany. But Germany said, we're done with that. But in the national conscious, they still believe that. So yes, Poland, I don't want to say it has the right to. It can, if you want, to fantasize about these things. But don't fool yourselves. Each and every country over there in the Eastern Europe and in the Balkans thinks this way. That belongs to me. Used to belong to me. Now you own it. I gotta have, get favors from the big club owner and somehow get it from you. That's how they think. You'll see. You'll see. Anyway. You can say, well, once you get to the European Union, you can't transfer territory. Really? The European Union is a passing thing. It's not something that starts now and it lasts forever. Is going to fall at one point. It's going to add more. It's going to change. It's going to transform. So the thing with no borders and so on, it's a lot of changes. These guys think that European Union will be the what, 1,000 years Reich? Okay, no, it's not going to be. It's not going to be. There's too many frictions. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.